If you go on howlongtobeat.com, it says Sonic the Hedgehog 2 takes, on average, 3 hours to complete. But does it? There are a ton of reasons these numbers might be biased, mostly non-maliciously, but biased nonetheless. So, I played Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for the first time in over 20 years to test. How long does it actually take to complete? Completion in this case is fairly simple to define since Sonic 2 is a fairly simple game. Get all the Chaos Emeralds from the special stages and beat every level up to and including the final boss. So once again, we will start with the most important part, reading the manual. We get a quick overview of the story, which I realised I didn't talk about in the first game, so I'll go over it here since it's mostly the same. Mad scientist Dr. Robotnik is capturing cute animals and putting them in robots that do his bidding. Getting to the end of each zone lets you destroy one of Robotnik's robot converting machines and release all the animals. Defeat Robotnik, save the animals. All the motivation you need. Like the first game's manual, Sonic gets called One Tough Dude. We get a brief overview of each zone, a basic overview of how the special stages work, and some amazing tips like grab every ring you can. That was 13 minutes well spent before we start the game in Emerald Hill Zone. And speaking of time well spent, things got off to a great start when I played the first act of Emerald Hill Zone for 10 minutes, collecting 2 Chaos Emeralds in the process when I realised I was playing the Anniversary mode rather than Classic mode. So now I'm 26 minutes in and only just properly starting the game. I'm including that time spent in the total since it's still practice that might impact the run. And now that we're in the run proper, I can go over how the special stages work. There are signposts throughout every level that act as checkpoints. If you do something silly like walk off a cliff edge because you assume it can't be a bottomless pit and thus die, you get teleported to either the start of the level or the last signpost you passed. Also, if you have 50 or more rings the first time you pass a signpost, a portal appears for you to jump into and try a special stage. In these stages, Sonic and Knuckles run along a half-pipe tunnel collecting rings. Collect enough rings in each section and you'll get to the end and collect the Chaos Emerald, as I was able to do first try on the first 2 special stages. Of course, these stages get progressively harder and I realised I might be in trouble by just the 3rd stage. The pattern the rings are laid out in gets more complex as you go. There are also bombs that you have to avoid or lose rings, and the placement of these bombs gets more devious and harder to predict. On just the 3rd stage there's a, not gonna mince words here, absolute dick move where they place a ring of bombs on a turn you can't see coming, meaning you either have to know it's coming from retrying the level or accept you're losing rings. No surprise I failed this special stage twice before getting the Chaos Emerald on the 3rd attempt. Couldn't get the 4th one before the end of Emerald Hill Zone though, and when you don't get enough rings, it gives you an obnoxious thumbs down noise. I got the thumbs down noise as well. Still, getting 6 attempts at the special stages in one zone is a good sign for this being a potential first try successful run as we head to the chemical plant in the creatively named Chemical Plant Zone. This zone has the second best music in the game that I didn't get to enjoy much since the first act was over before I knew it. The second act took a little longer, was able to try the 4th special stage again and got the Chaos Emerald, died once to the boss because I bounced off Robotnik's chunky bottom straight into the water, but otherwise smooth sailing straight into the aquatic ruins of the creatively named Aquatic Ruin Zone. And this is where things started to get a little worrying. See, I was overconfident after Emerald Hill Zone gave me 6 attempts at the special stages, but it seems being the tutorial zone it's more generous with the signposts. Alongside this, the later levels are harder and thus you're more likely to lose rings and don't have the 50 or more required to open the portal. Meanwhile, the special stages themselves get harder, meaning you need more attempts to succeed. In Aquatic Ruin Zone, I only got 2 attempts on the 5th special stage and failed both times. But knowing this meant I could adjust and prepare for the game to be a bit more tricky, such as with cheap crushing kills. Oh, well, okay. That felt a bit cheap. The final act boss was easy enough at least, and I move on to Casino at Night in the creatively named Casino Night Zone. Yeah, I'm done with that bit, you get the idea. Is this where my luck turns around or will I continue to get beat down? Overall, I'd say things turned around here. I mean, it's hot, it's gotta do it again. I deserve that. I got 3 attempts at the special stages, nabbing me 2 more Chaos Emeralds and just 1 more to go. I'd heard these special stages are harder than needed because of Tails losing rings, but I don't get why. He's always behind you, so any rings he gains are ones you missed, and he can only lose his own rings, so it's only ever neutral at worst. Blaming Tails might just be an excuse for people not being good at the game, I say very smugly as I end Casino Night Zone with 6 Chaos Emeralds and double-digit lives. And now we're on to Hilltop Zone, which brings back the seesaws I loved in the first game. though they don't matter as much as they did in Starlight Zone. Still, it's a fun zone with landslides working as a way to press you to go fast, which you don't get punished for anywhere near as much as in the first game. It's actually, shockingly, fun to go fast, especially when you don't have to worry about looking for signposts anywhere because you beat all the special stages already. I still have one more to do at this point though. Did I manage to do it? Not on the first attempt, that's for sure. And it would be a bit much for me to get it on my second attempt. It's the final special stage. Gonna take at least 3, right? Nope. Oh my god. I cannot believe it's that easy. And so, the game is effectively over. I have all the Chaos Emeralds. Don't need to do the special stages anymore, so no time spent on them. Probably gonna destroy the completion time again since I can turn Supersonic. Except first I have to figure out how to do so. See, the game doesn't tell you how to do it, and it wasn't mentioned in the manual, so I ended Hilltop Zone not knowing how. I wasn't too fussed though, since I was entering the zone with the best music in the game, Mystic Cave Zone. Unfortunately, turning Super changes the music, as I found out after I eventually figured out how to do so. Press Y. And yeah, the level was effectively over at that point. Being Supersonic gives you both the super speed and invincibility effects for the length of the transformation. You do lose 1 ring per second and will untransform if your rings reach 0, but that doesn't really matter when you finish the level so fast because again, you have super speed and invincibility. There's almost no downside. However, there's a couple clever twists that make it not an instant win. First, you have to get 50 rings before you can transform, which I didn't manage to do in Act 2 of Mystic Cave Zone, and the levels only get harder from here, making getting 50 rings without getting hit first a tougher prospect as you go. And second, as you'll see here in Oil Ocean Zone, Supersonic can still die. You can be crushed, drown, or fall off the screen to your death, so you still need to play the game. Once I lost Supersonic here, I didn't get it back in either acts of the zone. However, I still finished in good time and moved on to the second hardest zone in the game, Metropolis Zone, which is a really fun zone despite being at times unfairly difficult. Like, there's this Mantis enemy who fights by throwing his scythe arms at you. He's so cool. He's also my mortal enemy. Oh, okay with that one. There's also these starfish enemies who fire off their spikes at inopportune moments that felt unfair, but hey, gotta make the levels difficult somehow. The boss of the zone was also, as far as I can tell, impossible to beat without getting hit at least once. But like every boss, he's also laughably easy if you don't care about losing most of your rings, since the temporary invincibility you get from being hit lets you sneak 3 hits in on the boss. I suppose it matters if you care about your final score at the end, but I don't. Such a thing feels like it's from a bygone era when high scores were something you chased because there's only 3 games coming out in a given year, so gotta do something to pass the time. Speaking of passing the time, we move on to chase Robotnik through the sky, and you'll never guess what the zone is called. This is a 1-act auto-scroller that's surprisingly easy considering how far into the game it is, but a nice relaxer before Wing Fortress Zone. And if you didn't know already, it becomes clear you're nearing the end with how difficult this zone is. Despite being a 1-act zone, I died 5 times. Interestingly, that's mostly due to the precision platforming required, since the enemies are surprisingly easy for how far into the game this is. You'd have to be not paying much attention or be getting a bit cocky to die to one of them. Oh. Anyway, despite my hubris, I managed to get to the end with 12 lives, which sets me up pretty nicely for the finale, the Death Egg Zone. Okay, so here's what makes this the hardest zone and why I never beat it as a kid. First, you have to beat 2 bosses back to back, Metal Sonic and Mecha Robotnik, and second, you don't get any rings. No Supersonic to breeze through this, no temporary invincibility from being hit, 1 hit and you're dead. You get as many attempts as you have lives to figure out their attack patterns and defeat them. Thus, I have 12 attempts. Did I manage it on my first run? Here's what happened. First attempt, tried to hit Metal Sonic a 3rd time and died. Second attempt, found out Mecha Botnik shoots its arms out. Third attempt, I just kinda sucked. Fourth attempt, tried to hit Botnik in his walk cycle, found out you can't do that. Fifth attempt, found out Botnik's arms can shoot up as well. Sixth attempt, I just kinda sucked. Again. 7th attempt, tried to hit Metal Sonic 4 times in one cycle for no reason, pure greed. 8th attempt, tried to hit Botnik in his walk cycle. Again. Found out you can't do that. Again. You idiot. 9th attempt, tried to hit Metal Sonic 3 times, mistimed it by 2 frames. 10th attempt. 3 lives left, but I have all the info I need. I know the attack patterns. I know the safe times to hit. It was time to pull out Hold Reliable. Patience. Discipline. Move away every other cycle to avoid the arms. Let him do his walk cycle without trying to hit him. When he bends down during the landing, hit him. Don't be greedy. It's a foolproof strategy and it's not a speed run. There's no need to take unnecessary risks because there's no reward. The risk is you jeopardize the run. The reward for playing it safe is you win. It will take a while. 4 minutes and 15 seconds in fact. A level of patience I clearly didn't have as a child, which I don't blame child me for, but it's surprising how difficult this was when, this game was likely made with children in mind. Still, a nice bit of catharsis to end the video. Oh my god, I did it. First try, first run. All 7 Chaos Emeralds, Sonic 2 done. I am completely showing up my younger self here. I am just making this look fairly trivial. When as a kid I would be lucky to get to the final zone, and then I'd never beat it. Never mind getting all 7 Chaos Emeralds along the way. Well, I'm looking at the time on the recording, and it's 2 hours and 25 minutes. So I'm gonna say, in this case, how long to beat is accurate. It's so obviously Super Saiyan. I know they're not trying to hide it, but it's funny. Yeah, it shows the Death Egg crashing into the island, setting up Sonic 3.